On a date in early 2025, the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability held a hearing on healthcare insurance practices. The witnesses included executives from major insurance companies, including UnitedHealth Group. What unfolded during questioning reveals a pattern that goes beyond policy disputes. It's about whether the people running these companies understand the gap between what they claim their denial rates are and what independent data shows. The representative questioning the executives didn't lead with abstractions about healthcare reform. She led with numbers, compensation numbers, denial rate numbers, bankruptcy numbers. And when those numbers didn't match what the executives claimed, the confrontation became a case study in how difficult it is to get straight answers about one of the most fundamental questions in American healthcare. Why do insurance companies deny so many claims? Watch how it started.
Ms. Barragan for her 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to just ask the witnesses, all of you here, except the witness on the end, all of you get a stock option or a stock benefit for your compensation. Is that correct, Mr. Hensley?
Yes, Representative.
And Mr. Joyner?
Yes.
Ms. Bordeaux?
I do as well, tied to long-term incentives.
Okay, and
Yes, I do.
No, we don't have any ownership or stock. We're a nonprofit. There's no ownership.
okay, you get you get performance bonuses instead.
Correct.
Okay, so those of you who have stock, your company has to do better or good for you to maintain that value in that stock. Is that right? Nobody disagrees with that, right? You're all in the business of making a profit, right? Nobody disagrees with that? Okay. Mr. Hensley, you got a $60 million one-time equity award. That's a lot of money. For my constituents, when I said we were having this hearing today, I said, what would you ask? They said, we want to know why they're making so much and why we can't afford our health care, or why we stretch every penny and dime to buy health care just to have the claim denied when I actually need it. And that's what's wrong. That is what's wrong in this system. Mr. Hensley, you were just asked about the denial rates. I have a chart. I have a chart right here of the denial rates. I don't know if you could see it, but UnitedHealth Group, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation study, says your in-network denial rate is 33%. That's 33%. You just told my colleague that wasn't accurate. Are you saying the report is inaccurate? Or are you just not aware of what your denial rates are?
Representative, I think we are aware of our denial rates. I don't know the context of what you're showing me.
Okay, so you're not aware of the study. Okay.
Excuse me.
Well,
Mr.
what do you
Hensley,
think your
can
denial
put
rate
your
is?
mic
What do you think the
closer?
percentage is?
Yeah, we're having a hard time hearing. If you could pull your mic closer, and we'll give you an extra
sorry?
10 seconds.
Okay.
What do you think your denial rate is?
Less than 2%.
Yeah, that's like wildly off from any numbers that I have seen. I want to enter into the record an LA Times article published in February 2025 that tells the story of Colleen Henderson and her 3-year-old toddler, who of course is insured by UnitedHealth. They fought your company for 5 years to pay for specialty care to treat their 3-year-old daughter's rare condition. She had a tumor in her bladder, The family ended up with $1 million in medical debt and was forced to declare bankruptcy because UnitedHealth said treatments recommended by the doctors were unnecessary. Do you understand why the American people are not a fan of UnitedHealth and big healthcare companies, Mr. Hensley?
I think that is a tragic situation. I don't know the details of it, but I'm very sympathetic to situations like that.
Well, what are you going to do to make sure that more families are not going into medical debt and that their kids can get the care they need? Because you know the alternative is the kid is going to die.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I think one of the reasons that motivated me to return to this company is because I think we could be a force for solutions like that, and that our mission aligns to that, and my purpose is to improve the performance of this enterprise to solve those kinds of solutions.
Well, I hope that we see improvements, and I'm going to be tracking that progress to see if it actually happens. The other thing that's really quite fascinating is that we find that most people will not appeal these denials. Most people don't have the time or the effort. I live in a district where it's working class families. They can barely find the time to show up to 2 jobs to pay their bills. Do you think they're going to have the time and the effort to appeal a claim? We've seen that less than 1% of claims are appealed, but when they are, insurance reverses their decision 44% of the time. That's almost half. Why do your patients have to fight your company to get their claims covered.
Representative, again, I appreciate the subject. It's important. They shouldn't have to fight. We should make this much easier and intuitive, and we use technology for that purpose. We have a number of initiatives in market right now.
Mr.
Try to
Hemsley,
make it real.
The representative establishes the incentive structure first. The executives receive stock options, which means their personal wealth increases when the company's stock price goes up. For a company to increase its stock price, it typically needs to show growing profits. For an insurance company, one way to increase profits is to deny more claims, pay out less in medical expenses while collecting the same premiums. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's the business model. The representative doesn't claim it's illegal. She establishes it as context for what comes next. Then she cites Mr. Hemsley's $60 million equity award. That number is significant because it represents approximately 30 times the median household income in the United States. It's the kind of compensation that becomes difficult to justify when the company you lead is denying 1/3 of claims from patients who paid for coverage. Which brings us to the central factual dispute. What is UnitedHealthcare's denial rate? According to the representative, citing a Kaiser Family Foundation study, UnitedHealthcare's in-network denial rate is 33%. That means 1 out of every 3 claims submitted by patients who are paying premiums, who have coverage, who are using in-network providers gets denied. Hemsley's response is that he doesn't know the context of the chart, then states that UnitedHealthcare's denial rate is less than 2%. That's not a small discrepancy. That's a 31 percentage point gap between what independent research shows and what the company's executive claims. Either the Kaiser Family Foundation methodology is fundamentally flawed, or the executive running the company doesn't know or won't acknowledge his company's actual denial rate. The representative's reaction, that's like wildly off from any numbers that I have seen, suggests this isn't the first time she's encountered data showing denial rates in the 30% range. And if the executive genuinely believes his company's denial rate is under 2%, that raises questions about what information is reaching leadership versus what's happening at the operational level where claims are processed. This factual disagreement matters because denial rates directly affect patient outcomes. A denied claim can mean delayed treatment, abandoned care, or financial catastrophe for families. Then the representative introduces the Colleen Henderson case. According to the LA Times article referenced, this family fought UnitedHealthcare for 5 years over coverage for their 3-year-old daughter who had a bladder tumor. The company deemed the treatments recommended by doctors unnecessary. The family ended up with $1 million in medical debt and declared bankruptcy. Hemsley's response is that he doesn't know the details, but is very sympathetic. The representative then asks what he's going to do to prevent more families from ending up in the same situation. Watch his answer.
the way you're talking about this is not sympathetic. It's not compassionate. I appreciate the topic. These are people's lives. These are children's lives. This is when you said that you want to help people when they're sick. You know what doesn't help? When they get a bill, when they have to go into medical debt for $1 million of debt. That doesn't help people when they're sick. I hope that you all are going to do better.
The gentlelady yields back, and the gentlelady referenced a document. If she could make sure we have a copy of that, and without objection, it is so ordered to be entered into the record.
Hemsley's response to the question about preventing medical bankruptcies is corporate language. Improve the performance of this enterprise to solve those kinds of solutions. The representative immediately pivots to introduce another data point that contextualizes why the denial rate matters so much. Less than 1% of denied claims are appealed, but when patients do appeal, insurance companies reverse their decision 44% of the time. That statistic is critical. It means nearly half of appeal denials are overturned, which suggests that a significant portion of initial denials shouldn't have been issued in the first place. The reason less than 1% of patients appeal is straightforward. Appealing a claim, denial requires time, documentation, persistence, and often medical knowledge to navigate the process. For working families juggling multiple jobs, caring for sick children, and managing the stress of medical crises, the appeals process becomes an additional barrier. Insurance companies understand this. The system relies on most people not appealing. The representative's district is described as working-class families who can barely find the time to show up to 2 jobs to pay their bills. This is the population most affected by high denial rates combined with low appeal rates. They pay premiums. Their claims get denied. They don't have the resources to fight. The care doesn't happen or the debt accumulates. Hemsley's response is that patients shouldn't have to fight, and the company is using technology to make the process easier. But the representative interrupts to point out that the language itself, talking about initiatives and enterprise performance, is disconnected from the reality of a 3-year-old with a tumor whose family lost everything because the insurance company said the treatment was unnecessary. The gap between Hemsley's stated denial rate of less than 2% and the Kaiser Family Foundation's finding of 33% becomes more significant in this context. If leadership genuinely believes the denial rate is 2%, they're not positioned to fix a problem they don't think exists. If they know it's 33% but publicly claim otherwise, that raises different questions about transparency and accountability. What this hearing reveals is not new information. Healthcare policy experts, patient advocates, and families dealing with insurance denials have been raising these issues for years. The Kaiser Family Foundation study showing 33% denial rates was published and available. The data on appeal success rates has been documented. The stories of families going bankrupt over denied claims appear regularly in local news. What's notable is watching an executive with a $60 million equity award claim his company's denial rate is under 2% when independent data shows it's 33%, then respond to a bankruptcy case by talking about technology initiatives and enterprise performance. The representative's final statement is direct. These are people's lives. These are children's lives. The implied question is whether the executives running these companies understand that, or whether the incentive structure, stock options tied to profitability, compensation tied to financial performance, creates a system where denying claims becomes a feature, not a bug. The answer to that question will determine whether the improvements Hemsley referenced actually materialize, or whether families like the Hendersons continue fighting billion-dollar companies for coverage they already paid for, while executives collect equity awards that dwarf what most Americans earn in a lifetime. If this kind of coverage matters to you, hit subscribe.